you said that high-end diesel pushers do this, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, and
for
like
sure.
the fact that other Class Cs haven't been doing this makes me weary.
Yeah.
All righty, welcome to another episode of the RV Voice. We have a very special one here today. It is Grand Design Lineage, the first ever motorhome from Grand Design. This is going to be very interesting, very awesome to hear. We got the two experts of this brand, and they're going to talk to us about it today. It's Brent and Darren. Brent and Darren, welcome to the show. Appreciate having us today. And it's going. So when we let's talk about your background a little bit. Just kind of build some credibility in yourself so people know that you're for real, legit. So Brent, we'll start with you.
Okay, awesome. My name is Brent McKnight, and I'm the sales manager for Western North America. So basically covering, we're pretty much have the U.S. and Canada split right down the middle right now. Right now we're in the process of signing dealers. Really no one's got product as of right now. Production really just got going, but I've been in the industry. This is year number 10 for me. Coming up this year, and 7.5 of those years have been on the motorized side. I was at Forest River for 7.5 years, selling motorhomes, and I spent a couple 2.5 years during the COVID years at Keystone RV. So almost 10 years in the business. Obviously, very, very happy to be here with this new brand and this new launch. I know it's something that obviously you guys are excited about. We're obviously excited about. So yeah, Darren.
My name is Darren Smith. I'm on year 8 in the industry now. So came over from, started my career at Keystone for 6 years. Went to Alliance for 2 years. Started over here this year. And so I'll handle the East. So Brent and I basically split from like Minnesota, Louisiana, straight down, and then I'll go east and he'll go west. But yeah, like Brent said, super pumped to get this thing off the ground and start rolling onto lots and getting everybody to see it. So we're pumped.
Awesome. Well, I'm Jake Bartunik. I'm coming on my year 3, so I'm a little new.
Awesome.
Heck yeah.
Tenured, baby.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Grand Design Lineage. So like, let's talk about a little bit of the story. I know you guys got a whole presentation to show us today, but like, how did this come about? Because Grand Design's only been about 12 years old now.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So it was something that, Don Clark, I think it's something that he's always wanted to do, especially in the last 5 years or so. COVID kind of pushed it back. I think it probably would have happened a little bit sooner. The plant that we're actually, both of our offices are actually in the Class C plant. We've got a couple plants, but these plants were actually built initially during 2020, 2021, when Grand Design needed production on their fifth wheels. They started building this plant in case they needed more production coming out of the fifth wheel side. And obviously the market softened up a little bit late 2021 and 2022. And they decided, you know what, now's the time to start building a motorhome. And Tommy Hall is the GM. He came over. He was the product manager for Solitude. So he's been with Grand Design for 8 years. But his whole background prior to coming to Grand Design was on the motorized side. So he had been at Thor Motor Coach. He had been at Forest River. Came to Grand Design 8 years ago, and has obviously been very successful here at Grand Design. So when these plants were built and then they decided not to build fifth wheels in these plants, that was kind of when that final decision was made on, let's start a motorized division. So that's more or less how it kind of came about.
Yeah, I think one thing Don always talks about too, and Tommy as well, is Grand Design majors in the majors, right? So when you talk about like branching Grand Design out into other segments into the industry, I think the natural progression was to head into the motorized category, right? We'll dive into kind of what we're doing and where we're headed in the segments, but we'll hit some of the best segments in the motorized space with our products. So yeah, that's kind of how we dove into it.
Well, the Class C makes the most sense, but I'm excited for a Class B. So let me know when you guys do that.
Sure.
That's my style. I'm a one-man band,
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's dive into your presentation, see what's going on. And give us everything we need to know about this thing.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, let me share this. Can you still see us?
Sure can.
Okay, perfect. So basically, I'm just gonna go through it over here on the side. Delete this. All right, so couldn't figure out how to get rid of the side over here, but so basically, what is Lineage? What's going to be unique about our brand is everything that's going to be motorized from Grand Design is going to say Lineage on the side. We're not going to have, for every engine, for every chassis, we're not going to have a different name. We're not going to have SE, LEs, XLs, all these nomenclatures that a lot of customers don't understand. We're actually starting out with Series M, which is going to be our Mercedes, Class C. Down the road, we're going to have some other lineups, but once we introduce those, they're all going to be Series, and then a different nomenclature for whatever, whether it's a van, whether it's a Super C or a gas or diesel. So, but everything's going to have one brand. It's all going to be Lineage. We're also not going to have any clones or sister brands. A lot of other, especially on the Class C side, you typically get a lot of different manufacturers have multiple dealerships with different stickers on the outside. That's never been Grand Design. Grand Design has always had one dealer in that market, in that segment, with different products, whether it's a stick and tin or whether it's a high-end fifth wheel. So we're going to follow that same path. One of the other things that we wanted to do is bring some European influences into our product. Mike Hums is our product manager, and Stefan Dolzan is going to be product manager for our B vans. And Stefan came from Lippert. He was the European liaison for 7-8 years over at Lippert. So he's got a lot of really good connections over on the European side, whether it be Italian, German. Really, he's got a good relationship with almost everyone over there. And, he's helped Mike bring over a lot of different parts and pieces and ideas that are currently not offered here in the U.S. So we understand that we're entering a market that is somewhat soft, but at the same time, I've got Be Different on this slideshow. That was what we kept hearing from our dealers when we introduced this product. We obviously listened to our dealers, our dealer partners, and they're listening to customers. And it's like, if they want this product on our lot, what do we need to do to separate ourselves? And it was do things that are different that's not already being done. So hopefully after this podcast today, you and the rest of the country can see some of the different things that we're working on. We're obviously very excited about it. So I'll let
one of the things too, just to interject there a little bit about that European influence. One of the things Mike did when he first came over, Mike started over a year ago now at Grand Design, and just doing a ton of research and digging into this product. He spent, I tease him and say he spent a semester abroad and just kind of digging into that European culture and the way they do motorized, because that's a huge portion of motorized, right, overseas there. And he did a ton of research and went to a bunch of RV shows, toured a bunch of facilities over there. So much of what we do is kind of brought over from there. I think you can see it in the product. So that's kind of where all that comes from. And then, like Brent said about Stefan's background being obviously that European contact for Lippert for a while, that definitely helps too. So that's kind of where that comes from. But it really helps us, like Brent said, be different, right? So most of our stuff that you see isn't going to look like a Me Too product out there. It's going to be super unique and kind of on the cutting edge of what we're able to do. So
yeah, most definitely. So the European, I really enjoy, they have a different type of motorized because, housing is very expensive over there. So a lot of people, like camper vans, doing a lot of converted vans over there. A lot of people are going on the road and living on the road over there. And they just have a smaller style. So I really appreciate that you guys are doing that. And, Europeans, they always seem to build it a little bit better. But Grand Design's always been up there, too, for luxurious features. The other thing I wanted to hint on, or that you guys touched on, is not the copycat. That's super cool because I never thought Grand Design was like that. Yeah, you guys are under Thor, so is Winnebago. So your interiors look kind of similar. But one of the questions that I was going to get to later was one people were like, well, so is this just a copycat of the Winnebago Navion? Which I was like, I was curious. So I hopped on Winnebago real quick, and no, it's not. Doesn't look like it. So I'm excited to hear more about it.
For sure. Yeah, that was something that honestly a lot of, I came over here, Q1 of this year, and that was something that a lot of people thought that was what it was going to be. Obviously that's who we're owned by now, is the Winnebago company. And, they came through here, a bunch of times looking at what we're doing. And that was something that they really pushed us as well to be different. We wanted to introduce a product that, they weren't building, something that looked different than what they were doing. So, I think we achieved that. I think they're happy with the results, and obviously we're very happy with the results as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the best of both worlds where we can kind of learn from them because they've been doing motorized forever and better than many. So we can kind of learn from them and then kind of move and pivot and go in a different direction and pull some of that European stuff. And I think what we came up with was kind of a perfect mix of both. So we'll get into it a little bit more with this presentation and kind of show you kind of what we're talking about.
Perfect.
Question: can you see my PDF right now?
I can.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll let Darren go over the actual floor plan that we're starting off with.
Ooh.
Yeah, so Series M floor plan 1, 25 FW. Pretty popular floor plan. We're doing a lot of unique things with it. Right off the bat, we're building a little bit wider than most brands will build this floor plan. So we're building on a 96-inch width, which is actually as wide as you can build on a Mercedes chassis. We'll get into the upfit and the how we're doing the upfit a little bit differently off of the chassis itself. But as far as the floor plan goes, a lot of brands will build this floor plan, but they'll do some things that I think left a little to be desired. So I think we're the only brand that has a 70 by 80 true king size bed in this floor plan. So by going a little bit wider, we're able to introduce that king size bed in there. And then also you're able to have a little bit more space in that bathroom by going wider too. So that bathroom isn't as congested as it typically is on this floor plan. So with that said, some of the features and benefits on this you'll see are super unique to that too. But right off the bat with the width and the 70 by 80 and the bigger bathroom is something that's a huge selling feature on this floor plan that not many people are offering in this.
So is there actual room on the foot of the bed? Because that's usually an issue.
Yeah,
there is. We're using
not walk around them.
We're using we'll kind of go over the different chassis that we're building on, but we are building on a little bit heavier chassis from Mercedes on the 4500. So we're doing some things to our frame that allows us to do a little bit deeper slide. So our slide room is actually going to be a 40-inch slide. Which is why we're capable of putting a 70 by 80 king in there. And, we'll kind of get into some of, it's not just a typical 70 by 80 king. I've got some pictures of, some pictures and a demo of what kind of bed we're actually putting in. A lot of manufacturers are putting in a bed that's probably one of the first things that a lot of customers throw out, from day one. So we wanted to spend more money. We wanted a 70 by 80 king, which is, I'll be honest with you, the first time that this was seen was at the Denver rally. That was a little over a month ago. And, we probably had 300 people came in. I would say that was probably the number one feature. That first thing you walk in, you feel how much more open it is. And second is how big the bed is.
Yeah. So you were saying it's a wider frame of the whole thing?
The upfit on
the actual upfit is.
Yeah, I think the upfit on a standard Sprinter C would be like somewhere in the 92, 93 ballpark. So we're able to build it a little bit wider because of the way we're adding so much heft to that whole foundation of the upfit. So it allows us to do some things like Brent said, 40-inch depth on a slide is the biggest depth on a slide you can go to. So we're able to do some things on that upfit to make it so that this thing doesn't feel like it's bigger than most. It doesn't feel like it's rocking and swaying when you go over a speed bump or anything like that. So it all starts with that foundation, and being able to build on that stronger platform really allows us to do a ton of different things.
Most definitely. Sweet.
These are obviously just some specs. All of this is available on the website. I won't go through all of it. As we already said, we're building on the 4500 Mercedes now. That was something that came out in 2023. Most manufacturers have not gotten to the 4500s yet because, there was obviously, when going through COVID, there was a chassis shortage. A lot of manufacturers overbought just to make sure that didn't happen. And, then the market kind of softened up. So that's one of the things is, for us being a startup is we're building on the newest Mercedes chassis. This is the latest and greatest from Mercedes. We've got more horsepower, more torque. You can see on our spec sheet that we're going to have 2 standard lithium batteries. A lot of manufacturers are still doing lead acid, and then they're optioning in the lithium package. Ours are going to be standard on everything. We're going to have 600 watts of solar that's standard on everything. There's a potential power package down the road, which is something that we're not quite there with yet. But you can see that this is your typical I would say spec sheet.
We're trying to make things easier for not only the retail customer for purchasing purposes, but also for the sales guy at the dealership, right? We want to limit options wherever possible. So like Brent said, we're standardizing more than most brands are optioning, right? With those 230 amp hour batteries, 600 watts of solar. And really, when you break it down, the only options we're going to have on this is you'll have an upgraded fabric with an ultra fabric. You'll have a suspension package. Eventually we'll have a power package that is a gen delete, and then it gets into more solar and more lithium. But then from there, your chrome wheels or blackout aluminum rims, and otherwise you're standard with steel. So we just try to make it easier, like I said, for the purchasing process and for that sales guy at the dealership to not have to toggle between so many different options.
You can't go chrome on this thing. It's black and white. It wouldn't look good at all.
Yeah, some people love it.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
So
that's beautiful.
Yeah,
wow.
You can see on the inside, it's a totally different look than anything that's out there right now. I'm going to keep saying what a lot of our dealer partners told us at the very beginning before we even had our first chassis. Was be different. How do you do something that's not being done already? Right now, a lot of the market, they look the same. On the outside, you got full paint or you've got graphics, and on the inside, you all have white ceilings. You've got some kind of vinyl plank floor look on the inside. We wanted this to look very modern. We wanted to look very European. I think Mike and Tommy, they kind of had this vision way back before Darren and I were hired, and I would say it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, that's one thing I really like about, or I really appreciate about Grand Design is you walk in, it's very modern feel. Everyone, I mean, there was a real problem with the RV industry for a long time. It was always like 20 years behind the housing industry, the residential industry. So I really appreciate that about a Grand Design. I'm sure tons of people do.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also on the inside, Darren already kind of touched on the ultra fabrics. We don't have a ton of options. Basically what we have on the left there, this is our dinette. So this is actually an option. Standard in all of our units will be a power theater seat. What comes standard in every unit is a standard vinyl material. You can only get that standard vinyl in the darker color, which is called modern gray. That's the picture on the left. And to be honest with you, it's almost going to match that ceiling that I showed you in the slide before. It's almost the same color. And so that's our standard package. You can upgrade to the ultra fabrics. Most of the customers probably haven't seen that logo a ton, but it's the same ultra fabrics that's used in Range Rover, Land Rover, McLaren, Tesla. There's obviously some other motorized brands using it, but it's honestly the best material that I think I've ever sat on in an RV. Solitude, which is also a Grand Design product, they're actually using that same Dove material. They're using that in their Solitudes. So we're going to have two different ultra fabric, kind of a light and a dark, And then standard is going to be your standard vinyl, only available in the dark.
The nice thing too, when you do upgrade to that ultra fabric material, you'll have it on either the boot dinette or the theater seat. And then you'll also have it on the driver's seat and the passenger seat too. So when you upgrade that material, you pretty much get it everywhere you have any kind of fabric on that coach. So it's a nice upgrade. Like Brent said, it's a higher end touch feel. I mean, the customer really can appreciate it. So we'll get into the numbers of everything, but right now I think we're sitting at 15 retails without having a unit on the lot, and I think most of our retails have gone with that ultra fabric. So it's been super well received in the early stages already.
Cool, I believe it.
As far as the exterior, has that popped up on your screen yet?
Mm-mm.
There it is.
There you go.
So exteriors, standard. This is our standards graphics package. I love what Grand Design's been able to do with, our marketing team is very creative, and, they've got this kind of 360 picture that you can kind of touch it and grab it, but they've got this with every product on the Grand Design website. But this kind of gives you what our standard graphics package looks like. When you see our price on a website that says MSRP starting at $197, this is what's starting at $197. We do have some full paints, which I'll show you next. Which will bump that price up a little bit, but standard. This is graphics. You can see starting with the front, we've got a black painted front cap, so that's all paint up there above the cab. You also have a black painted back rear cap. A lot of manufacturers don't even put a rear cap on this product. They'll just have the back wall with a bumper. They'll have the back wall with a couple little caps where the brake lights and turning lights are. We wanted the full one-piece fiberglass cab. I think it looks a little bit richer. We did it mainly for looks. You'll notice as you go down the sidewall here, all of your baggage doors are all slim latch baggage doors on both sides of the coach. You can see here from the front, we do have a overhead windshield up top. There's a power blind on the inside, which I'll go over here in a second, where that's kind of a power. On the back side of it, there is a reflector screen that'll more or less reflect the heat off of the top of there, so it doesn't get so hot in the up in the cockpit. So
I was just going to talk about one of the things, if you could leave it on the side view there, one of the things from a design standpoint that I think is super, super important that Mike wanted to really accomplish when he first designed this product is that cab over bunk, right? Some brands do it so that it sticks out so far and it looks kind of clunky, and it looks like I was thinking it looks like a Gumby forehead type setup. But one thing, you want to create space in that overhead bunk, but by making it still look aesthetically pleasing on the outside, and I think he completely nailed it. So it doesn't stick out too far, because, I mean, when you talk to some of these customers, we actually have our national rally going on right now where we have over 1,000 people at the Elkhart County Fairgrounds, and just kind of them telling their stories about how they're camping in their towable units right now. And one of the things that's super cool is they're going to all these beautiful places across the country. And if you're driving through in a Class C product and you're looking up and all you see is that cab over bunk in your windshield, kind of defeats the purpose of seeing some of these cool places. So by being able to push that front cap back a little bit, but still create the room on the interior is so important. And like I said, I think we kind of just hit that perfectly between both of those objectives.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a big difference. Can you roll to the other side here real quick, Brent?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to point out, I really like that you guys integrated. It's a square window look.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a totally different look compared to the rounded edges and all that. I think it really matches the whole lines of the Lineage itself. I mean, it's a slick looking trailer.
Yeah, we'll get into the windows too, because I think that's a nice catch by you. But I always say that I think RV windows either accomplish one or two things. They never accomplish both. They either look super cool in the exterior, but they're not functional at all, or they look like an RV window and they gain functionality. What we're able to do with these windows as we get into that slide is kind of the best of both worlds. And I don't want to spoil it before we get to that page, but yeah, you'll see kind of what we're talking about when we get to it.
You also see up top, we've got kind of a sport rack. That is mainly for looks. I'll show you a picture of the roof here in a second, but as I mentioned earlier, we have 600 watts of solar on the roof. So between an AC, I mean, our unit tip to tip is only 25.5 feet. So there's only so much space you've got up there. But there is something that if you ever needed to tie something down to the roof, you are able to do that as long as you're not damaging something that's on the roof. But that was something that once we decided to do 600 watts of solar, it was like, do we get rid of it? And I mean, to be quite honest with you, I'm going to keep going back to the be different thing. It's just something different about that look, in my opinion, than what everybody else is building out there.
Yeah,
it would look kind of naked without it.
Yeah. And one of the other options, Darren mentioned the black wheels earlier. This is actually the blackout aluminum wheels. Standard are just the standard black steel Mercedes wheels. They look very similar to this, but this is the upgraded option. You can always kind of tell that if that Mercedes logo on the wheel, if that's a chrome look. You can also get these wheels with chrome, which a lot of manufacturers or a lot of dealers have optioned the chrome, as you can see here on the full body paints. You can see that on these pearls, most dealers have optioned the chrome package with the pearl, and then they've optioned the black wheels with the McKnight package. So when I'm looking at these, we do have 8 different paint colors, but in reality, this is Pearl Cabernet and this is McKnight Cabernet. So the only thing really changing is that front cap kind of going all the way up towards the back rear. That's either going to be white, which is what we call Pearl, or it's kind of a Nardo gray is more or less the color of that.
Very nice.
But those
I have a black Jeep and I should have never bought one. It's awful to keep. So I can't imagine a Class C.
Yeah, gray's the better option in terms of that. It's dark enough to hide some stuff, but it's not so dark that it highlights every scratch you get on it.
No kidding.
And then too, with the paint jobs, when we do go to that full body paint, we're putting more rock guard or diamond shield on this product than really most brands use. So we'll use it on the hood of the coach. We'll use it on the front cap. We'll use it on the wing walls. We'll put it on the running boards. We'll put it even like where you grab the handle back there. If somebody grabs it with a wedding ring or something like that, we'll put it there. So there's a ton of that to protect that paint job too, to keep it looking good for years to come.
Yeah, Sickens paint, three layers of clear coat on top of that. So it's one of the best paint jobs out there, especially in this price point.
Well, it looks sick. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll go back to a little PowerPoint here. And going back to, I'm going to keep saying being different. We're not the first, but we're one of the first that is building on this 4500 cab chassis. So I do have some differences of what, I'd say probably 90% of the Mercedes Class C products in the field right now. You can look at on just about every dealer website. Most of the almost all the 24s are built on them. And then a lot of the 25s that are still hitting lots now, they're still building on that 3500. So you can see that we're going to have, more payload, more horsepower, and more torque. So the 3500 was built with a 6-cylinder. The new 4500 is a 4-cylinder twin turbo. We do have 1,100 pounds roughly more payload with that new 4500. The next slide, we're going to show you where a lot of that went. One of the things that I'd say two of the reasons that a lot of people kind of steer away from the Mercedes is, carrying capacity. That's number one. A lot of the top brands out in the market right now, their carrying capacity is 700 or 800 pounds. And, when you're packing up and you're wanting to go cross country, that's not a lot of weight. For us to be building on a 4500, we start off 1,100 pounds heavier. But number two is a lot of people talk about the drive. Because of the carrying capacity being so low, a lot of manufacturers have not been able to really beef up the frame the same way that you typically can on a Ford, or a Ford or a Chevy. So with the Mercedes and with us having that extra weight, we actually were able to do a kind of a halo chassis, which is something that everyone's used to seeing on Class A's. Everyone's used to seeing them on high-end diesel pushers. Everyone's used to seeing them on Super C's, but no one is doing it right now on a Mercedes, because by adding tubular steel versus Z-channel steel and adding that halo on the outside, we're actually going to have the best foundation of any other Mercedes on the market. And, how we're building our units is, this is all 1.5-inch tubular steel. Most of our competitors are using Z-channel steel, which is really thin gauge. I've got a picture of a couple here in a second. But how we're tying all of our units together, we're bolting our floors down to that tubular steel in the center, and then all of our walls are actually being tied into that outside rail, which is what we call our halo. That's how high-end diesel pushers are built. That's how a lot of the luxury gas Class A's, Super C's, because they have bigger, bulkier chassis. This is unlike something that anyone's seen on a Mercedes before because of the payload. You can see here. These are just some other pictures that we've gathered from the internet, but no one is putting any kind of halos. So everybody's putting their floor down, and then their aluminum walls go straight into their aluminum floors, and essentially your floor is holding up your whole box. It's holding up your slide room. It's holding up your roof. We wanted to build this more like how you would build a house. If you've got a house foundation that's typically concrete, that concrete foundation is holding up your walls. It's tied into your walls. It's tied into your floors, everything but your roof. That's how we wanted to build our very first motorhome.
So I think what most OEMs are familiar with is Mercedes is very particular with where they let you bolt to the chassis itself, the raw chassis, right? So there's only 8 points you can bolt to that chassis on. So like Brent said, what most brands do is they take those 8 points and they run a cross member just going east to west, and then they bolt everything to that cross member. Well, you're going to have a good 1.5 to 2 feet gap between those cross members where there's nothing to secure that sidewall to. By doing this whole steel frame around the outside, you can drill into any single point of that frame and make it so that like I talked about, that foundation is so much more solid because of that. So it just allows us to do more from a structural standpoint than most brands do. And then, like Brent said, most of these consumers have done their homework a little bit on this 4500 chassis. It's only been out for a couple of years now, but they're starting to dig into it a little bit. They know that it has more payload. So the question we've gotten in just the short term that we've been around is, why don't we'll always have a minimum cargo carrying capacity of 1,000 pounds. And they're like, well, why don't you have more? Because that payload is so much greater on the 4,500. Well, it's because we're putting a ton of steel into the foundation of it, right? So that's where it starts. And that's the most important part of the coach. That's where you really want to add that heft. So by putting a ton of steel in and still having that cargo capacity of over 1,000 pounds, kind of is the best of both worlds.
Yeah. I'm not going to, we're not going to get into talking about, other brands out there, but there's another brand that's already building on this chassis, and their carrying capacity is 2,000 pounds. And essentially what they did with going from the 3,500 to the 4,500, they just picked up the box from one and put it on the other, which is how they got it. To be quite honest, something that's a 25-foot motorhome, we felt like that we needed to have a minimal 1,000-pound carry capacity, which is more than anyone that's on a 3,500. But we wanted to have the best ride in the industry. That was ultimately our goal, was to have more than 1,000-pound carrying capacity. That's also included in that 1,000 pounds is 4 people that are rated at 150 pounds. So it's something like that's including into that number that I'm giving you, that minimum number. So every unit will be a little bit different. We do have some other ways that because we did put more steel, our unit is a little bit heavier, but we've also done some things that we actually took some weight out and used more aluminum. We used more some composite materials versus wood in a lot of areas in this coach.
So seeing this halo frame makes a lot of sense to me. You said high-end diesel pushers do this, right? Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, and like the fact that other Class C's haven't been doing this makes me weary.
Yeah.
So
it's good to hear that. And again, I'm not going to talk about other products, but that picture at the bottom is obviously that's something that's coming straight off a website that's actually in a price point that's very similar to where this is going to land. So you can see the difference in the frame and how that's going to be put together versus how ours is going to be put together.
It's always funny though, JB, like you said, whenever you innovate, it's like, well, wait, how did we do this before? And it's like, well, now we're just trying to get the customer a little bit more educated in terms of, why we're doing what we're doing, right?
Yeah. More connection points makes a lot more sense. So
for sure.
Very
so you can see here, we're going to have 1.5 inch aluminum framed vacuum bonded sidewalls. That's going to be standard, obviously, in all of our units. As far as our roof goes, we did kind of talk about our roof earlier. I mentioned that there's not a lot of space up top, but you can see here it is a fully walkable one-piece fiberglass roof. What's unique about it is there is no self-leveling. So unlike a lot of other manufacturers, when you actually climb up on the roof and you see silicone and putty and everything else, we use a little bit different material, which I'll let Darren go over here in a second. But you can see the 600 watts of solar. We're using a little bit different air conditioner. It's called a Gree. That is also a European. I think right now no one is using that in the Class C segment. Gretsch is using the 13.5 in their B vans, and they're obviously a very high-end B van. We're the first that's using in a Class C. I can already tell you right now, there's not a quieter AC in the industry. So not only is it efficient, it's got a built-in heat pump, but it's also extremely quiet. Like I would say whisper quiet. Right behind that, you can't see it, but there's a little port that's that's prepped for Starlink. That's something that a dealer can add on that's already prepped for it, or that is one of the options, one of the few options we have. We can actually install that directly here at the plant.
Quick question, real quick on the roof. You said you vacuum bond the wall. On the walls. You vacuum bond the walls. Why not pinch roll, if you don't mind me asking?
The vacuum bond I find it's always 6 1/2 dozen the other, depending on who you're talking to from a pitch standpoint, right? So I think a vacuum bonded process is a better process if you're doing it the right way, right? Some brands, when they vacuum bond, they'll take a stack of like 20 sidewalls at a time and they'll vacuum bond at that. If you're paying attention to detail and individually vacuum bond on the sidewall, it is a far greater process. Now, like I said, every other manufacturer that is a pinch rolled sidewall is going to argue against that, but 6 1/2 dozen the other. We found great success with the way we're doing these sidewalls, and we can get into the PDI process later. But when we built this plant, we actually built like a rain bay that can actually simulate driving a 55-mile-an-hour rainstorm, right? So
we call it weather bay. It's got wind and rain.
Yeah, so we're testing everything, so that wall performs super well in that. And then like from the no self-leveling standpoint, right? Not only on our roof, but anywhere on the exterior of this coach, we're not using any self-leveling or sealing or anything at all. So we obviously wanted to test that and run that through the gamut and make sure that was the proper way to do it, and the results have been great so far. So to get into it, right, that the way we are sealing off all of the ACs and the wine guard antenna and the roof fence and everything like that is you won't see that putty up there, which gives such a better aesthetic on the outside. I always point out when I'm doing training to like the exterior of the coach, anywhere that cap meets the roof, you always have that good 4-inch piece of sealant or putty or whatever the case may be. And it's just an eyesore, right? So with us, the way we're securing that is this Titan gasket product. So if you can see this square cutout here, we get these all sized to whatever that component is on the roof. This is our AC piece right here. So as you peel this off and stick it on the roof, you see this not putty, but it's actually this product called Sika. Sika. And when you put this down, it stays down for really the life of the coach. But when you screw into it, this Sika product will then seep out, and then it'll act as that sealant from the inside out. So it's not going to be on the exterior of it, but it is sealed just as well from the interior of it, and it doesn't give that aesthetic of just kind of like an eyesore, right? So it really accomplishes the best of everything there.
And then what we're also doing underneath that, this is kind of our roof material, but we've got, instead of Luan in all of our ceilings, we actually use a composite called elk board. So you're going to have, at some point we'll have some marketing material that'll kind of have the onion peel, but you're going to see underneath the fiberglass roof, you'll have a layer of elk board. Then you'll have your insulation, you'll have your aluminum frame. You also have another piece of elk board, which is what your the inside of your soft touch vinyl ceiling will actually be going to. So you're not going to have any kind of glue on any kind of wood up in your roof, which actually took out close to 100 pounds just by doing this elk board material. Obviously, we're paying for it, but in the long run, we feel like it was more important for us to have a composite material on our roof, save some weight, also have a much stronger, lighter, and more durable roof than, let's say, like a Luan or OSB.
Awesome. So like on that Sika stuff, that's so when you screw through it, it creates like its own O-ring. Do you guys go over that, like over the screw again with anything, or no?
No. That once that Sika seeps out from that screw hole, it kind of
all seals in.
out, and it acts as that sealant from the inside out. And then on that elk board, I know a lot of people probably aren't familiar with elk board. I don't know that anybody else is really on it. I think the most common composite material in the RV space is like an Asdel product. The nice thing about elk board is we tested both. Elk board, when it does get wet, it doesn't have, I don't want to say it gets pliable because Asdel doesn't get pliable, but it changes the integrity of Asdel a little bit when it does dampen. With elk board, it doesn't change the integrity of it at all. And on top of that, the screw retention on the elk board is essentially the same as wood. So the screw retention is fantastic on it, which is why we went with that elk board product. But yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see that onion peel that you were talking about on that. It'd be interesting.
For sure. Mm-hmm. For sure. Have you heard of shark bite before?
Have I?
Yes.
I mean, not as a product. Yeah.
This is used, a lot of new homes today that are being built. This is what we use for all of our plumbing, all of our freshwater lines, and our coach. I would say that a 25-year warranty on plumbing lines. I don't know of anyone that's got any kind of warranty like that on anything. I actually have a piece of it right here, which is what's different about this is these little fittings here. As you can see here, you go to any Home Depot, any Lowe's, you'll find these fittings for about $15 each. A lot of other manufacturers are using your standard copper,
ratchet strap.
Plastic.
75 cents to $1 typically is what those cost. We're spending a lot more money, but basically you can see that little green. It's not a light, but once that pushes in and locks in, you can't pull it apart. Once you see that green, you know that there's a positive connection. The only way of getting this off is essentially cutting it. And if you want to reattach it, you've got to use another one of these expensive fittings to kind of piece it back together. But where a lot of plants are using 5 or 6 plumbers in their plant, we have 2 for our entire plant here. So it's basically plug and play. The guys that are doing it today, we're building one a day right now, but the guys that are doing the plumbing for the units tomorrow, they can just piece it all together, honestly, in minutes, versus spending a lot more time. But with that 25-year warranty, if a customer is, if they buy the unit in California and they're in Texas and they've got an issue with a plumbing line, you can actually, if you know where it's at, you can find your pipe, you can cut it, go to your local Home Depot, get a fitting for $15. That's covered in that 25-year warranty. And you can actually fix, like say you drop a ring in your sink, or you drop something that's in your freshwater lines, you can actually cut it, find it, and then obviously piece it back together without taking it to a service center of any sort.
That's crazy. You can't pull it apart. I've never heard of the shark bite, so that's really cool. I know that a lot of people are kind of bumping up to like either copper or brass fittings, because I know that a lot of them, I mean, especially entry level stuff, I mean, it's all plastic, save a buck here and there, but this is a big product. I appreciate this because the expansion and contraction these things go through, it's a big deal. So
for sure.
The biggest thing too is just giving that peace of mind to the customer, right? 25-year warranty on all your shark bite plumbing fixtures, and that's a huge pitch that really nobody else is coming anywhere near. So you'll find that as we get into this, pretty much everything we're doing right now is to make that customer feel that peace of mind, right? So if you even look at like our linoleum, we use an upgraded linoleum in our product that many RV Leno typically will have like a 2-year warranty, and it'll get damaged, and that customer is kind of out of that warranty by that standpoint. We use an upgraded linoleum that has a 7-year warranty on it. It's called the hospital grade linoleum because in a hospital you got to push those stretchers and gurneys across it, and it gets beat up pretty quick. So upgrading that linoleum, upgrading the plumbing fixtures, the warranty that we offer from the factory is, I would consider, the best warranty in the industry. Some of the things that we're doing as we get to that slide is super unique that nobody else is really able to touch. So just driving home that point that giving that customer that peace of mind and that reassurance that we're going to stand behind whatever we're putting into this product. That's the super important part because it is a big investment for that customer.
So say this did fail, like one of the connectors did fail, and it messed up a lot of the interior of the RV. Is that going to be on shark bite?
That's a good question.
It's probably case by case. I mean, if that failure was because of the shark bite, then I would assume that would be covered. But it would definitely be a case by case. It'd be a Jerry McCarthy question. He's the pro in that.
Yeah.
Someone's going to ask, so I had to.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, no. I mean, we haven't had anyone own one of these yet. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, it's got a 25-year warranty. It is nice that as long as that green piece is, like say that's green. If it's coming through one of these, if there's any water that's coming out of here, obviously it's going to be on shark bite. So as long as I mean, there's always going to be that kind of back and forth thing, regardless of what kind of supplier is installing it. But for us to have that backing from shark bites, a huge point for us.
Yeah, 25 years, almost unheard of. So that's really cool.
It is. I mean, honestly, I call that lifetime, essentially is what that is. So
absolutely.
Darren touched on our windows earlier. We've got the dual pane acrylic windows that a lot of, vans and RVs are using over in Europe. These actually open fully 90 degrees. So when they are open, they do open fully 90 degrees. There's 3 different stopping points, about 30 degrees, about 60 degrees, and then 90 degrees. You've got a built-in nightshade. You've got a built-in mesh screen for bugs. We also offer 2 of these large windows in both of our end walls in our slide room. So we are the first, because of that big 40-inch slide, is able to put these acrylic windows actual in a slide room. So when you walk in our unit, the first thing a lot of people thought of when they saw our dark ceiling was, that unit's probably going to feel like it's very dark on the inside. But when you've got 4 windows as large as the windows that we have in our units, it feels very bright, it feels very open. So, we're very fortunate to have these kind of products in our motorhome.
Yeah, 90 degrees is crazy because most of them, 6 inches, they brag about it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
They open 6 inches. Well, I mean, if you have 10, 15 windows, no big deal. You get a cross breeze, but 90 degrees is unheard of.
Like I said before, it's super uncommon to have functionality and look, and we kind of accomplished it both with that acrylic window. So that's another European influence. I believe we get those windows from the Netherlands. So dual pane too doesn't hurt. So from an insulation standpoint, we have a thicker sidewall than most and a dual pane window. So we're able to not only have a high performing air conditioner, but be able to keep that coach at a comfortable temperature without even that thing running.
That's awesome.
And then, one of the other unique things that we're doing in this product is, I would say, a good large portion of C's out there, they have that cab over bunk that we talked about, right? But they're not doing anything to ventilate that. So when you do throw that curtain up there and you close the kids up in the bunk over the cab, there's really no ventilation going into that cab. So little Johnny's up there kind of sweating after 10 minutes. So one of the things that we did is, you can't just to the left of that first picture, that's where our curtain will hang. And that's even a unique feature where we didn't just put it up with hooks where you can just rip that thing down and then your hooks are gone and then your curtain's gone for the next trip or wherever you go. But we actually put that on a magnetic strip. So that curtain just goes up with magnets. So if little Johnny does pull that thing off, you're not damaging anything, you're not breaking anything. But once that curtain is up, we run what we call Cobra. So cab over bunk ram air. So the nice thing about it is when that curtain's up, you're still pushing the air up into that bunk. So it is a comfortable climate up there, even with that curtain up. So again, just another unique feature that we're doing. You do have, like Brent said, one of those toggle switches you have there is a power shade that goes over that windshield in the front too. So you can black that thing out and keep it cool for the foreseeable future in that cab.
all of our bunks, you can't see it. There's lights on both sides, that little small light. Underneath that light, you've got built-in USB-C. You also have 2 of your 110s up there, and you have 2 toggles for 2 additional lights. So that cab over bunk, between having that windshield, when it is open, you get a lot of exterior light, but when you do close it, if someone's up there and needs light, you've got more light than most of our competitors have in your overhead bunk.
Yeah, little things there. That's super nice.
All the lights too will be fully dimmable. So every light aside from the kitchen and the bathroom will be fully dimmable too. So you can kind of set it at the light temperature you prefer.
Very cool. Does anybody have a dimmable light in the bathroom? Because like in the middle of the night, that might be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I know in products I used to sell Class A's, and I know that was something that was not standard, but there certainly were. But I honestly don't know on the Class C side.
Next year.
Yeah. This kind of gives you a good look of what we're doing in our step well. You can see there on the left, that's our fuse box. That's also on the bottom left. That's your full coach battery disconnect there on the left, and you can see both of your Lithionics 130 amp lithium batteries on the right. So again, I mean, I've seen a lot of products that we're gonna compete against, that they have fuse boxes. They've got one that's underneath the bed. They've got one that's underneath your sink, that's in a dark area underneath your sink. And there's one underneath the dinette. It's always in tough spots to get to. This is something where when you're standing on the outside of your coach, you can flip that up, and it's right there. Everything's labeled. It's clean. Everything's labeled very well. Would like to zoom in if I could. You can kind of get a good look there of all of your fuse boxes.
It's all right there.
It's all right.
All the fuses are right there.
All of your fuses.
And you have 1 house battery. 2 house batteries, but 1 disconnect right there.
Yep.
And then you do.
I've had Class A motorhomes. I have no idea what to do with, because it's a 40-foot monster, and there's like 3 different switches, and I can't do a damn thing about it. Like, well, it looks like you're not buying this because I can't use it.
Yeah.
One of the other cool things, this is something that a lot of people haven't seen yet, because the few customers that have seen a Lineage has been during the day. But we actually have a lit belt rail that goes around the coach. That's something that light is actually tied into the chassis. So when you put your unit in reverse and you're backing it up, those lights actually come on. So you actually have side lights on the side, which again no one's doing right now. When you hit your unlock on your Mercedes key ring, it'll blink twice. When you hit lock, it blinks once. So it kind of syncs up with your Mercedes chassis, which is something that we're able to kind of tie into. We've got a kind of a coach to chassis to coach, which there's some more details that come on that a little bit later, but it's kind of a way for us to see what all the Mercedes chassis is doing, your depth fluid levels and all that stuff. So, but that's kind of how we tied in that outside belt rail light.
It's very nice.
Not a lot of people
good looking unit.
To the coach. So we're able, like Brent said, we're able to do a lot of things with that C to C, coach to chassis to coach, that allows us to get readings from the chassis and all those other things. But that illuminated belt rail is nice, and at night when you're putting the coach in reverse, it just gives you a little bit more lights back there or everywhere.
This gives you a good look at our kitchen on the inside. Again, I'm going to keep saying ways that we're trying to be different. No one's got anything in this 25-foot box that we've got, that some of our competitors are building this floor plan. No one's got anything bigger than a 10 cubic foot fridge. So that's going to be as large. Most of our competitors are building on 6 and 8 cubic foot fridges. That's a 12-volt fridge. That's a convection microwave with also a built-in air fryer. That's a 12-volt TV. You can also flip that TV up where you've got storage back behind there. And then you can see the sink is very similar to those smart sinks that Solitude Reflection are using in their high-end fifth wheels. You've got a little cup cleaner. You've got a cutting board. You've got 3 different spray modes. So we call that more or less the smart sink, which is something, again, different than what a lot of our competitors are doing with just a standard either plastic or stainless, plastic or stainless faucet.
That cutting board kind of fit in the sink, like in the lips of it.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yep.
That's
It
awesome.
fits. It slides over back and forth.
That's super cool.
The other thing too that we have, that TV actually flips up, it's on dual struts, so they actually sit in a 90-degree angle, and then you have outlets back there too. So those outlets, as well as the outlets in the slide out behind this, are all inverted outlets. So as you're running down the road, if you're sitting in that theater seat right there across from that TV, you could plug into that TV. You could hook up your PlayStation. You could play PlayStation while you're running down the road. So yeah, that inverter offers a nice thing. And then in the bedroom, if you look at the right side of the bed, there's a little cubby in there for a CPAP machine. And then on the left side, underneath that big wardrobe, you actually have a drawer that pulls out with like a shelf on top of it that acts as a nightstand. So you'll have all the inverted outlets in there for CPAP, tons of storage underneath the bed that's actually accessible from the exterior too. So that mother-in-law suite's a little bit bigger on this one than most coaches. Like I said, you do have a huge wardrobe with a ton of hanging space in that. And then Brent will get into kind of the construction behind the bed because, like you said before, I think when you're cutting costs from an OEM standpoint out of a coach, I think the first thing that gets cut is the mattress. I think most OEMs probably spend under $100 on their mattress, as crazy as that sounds. We invested north of $800 on our mattress to make sure that thing is the most comfortable sleeping arrangement in a seat, because it is a fold-up bed, right? So one of the big things is on a fold-up bed is most brands or most mattresses, you can feel that seam. In our product, you really can't feel that seam at all when that thing lays flat, and big reason is behind the way it's constructed. So Brent will kind of get into the weeds on that.
You can see on these pictures over here on the right, these pictures. I zoom that in earlier. Oh, there you go. These pictures on the right over here, that bed frame, unlike a lot of the other manufacturers and competitors, most use wood to kind of build out your bed frame. All of our door frames, all of our bed frames, we all frame everything out in aluminum. One, it's stronger. Two, it saves weight. So any area in our coach that we could use aluminum, we use aluminum versus wood because of the weight savings. But you can see when we go back to the bed here, so full 70 by 80, and we use this. This is more or less what your memory foam mattress is made of. It's kind of a ramen noodle, but that's the memory foam. This other piece on this outside, that's actually going to be more or less a halo that goes around the sides and the foot of your bed, to where when you sit on the edge of the bed, a lot of manufacturers, when they're building their units, you sit on the edge of the bed to put your shoes on, you actually damage the mattress because your bed is longer than the actual bed frame. This is a really firm halo around the edge, and it actually comes all the way out to where that aluminum framing is, so when you sit on the edge of your bed, the mattress does not bend at all. But yeah, this is the memory foam. So this is why you don't feel that seam that most of our competitors, the beds that they use, you always feel where that mattress bends. By using this ramen noodle type material, you're not going to feel the seam there in the middle.
Weird.
And if you watch the Olympics, which I know a lot of people did, these are the same. This is the same bed that they used for the Olympians during the week that week. I don't know if you saw that they were they had these cardboard people that they had. I mean, it was kind of a big topic where there were cardboard, basically mattress frames made of cardboard, but then this was the actual mattress that they slept on all week.
So a lot of people are saying if you buy Lineage, you too could be Simone Biles.
Well, maybe I'll do that and buy it instead of buying a house. We'll see.
Everyone always wants to know what kind of room you get when the slide's in. We've got this picture on our website as well.
Wow.
You can see, you can get to your bedroom, you can get to the back wall. The only thing that's really not accessible, obviously the bed you can't sleep on as you're driving down the road, but then you're also your wardrobe on the rear wall. But outside of that, everything's accessible. When you have the power theater seats there, your legs can still fully recline, with people still getting down the walkway to go to the bathroom. So you still feel like you have a lot of room, even when that big 40-inch slides in. That was one of the first things a lot of people thought of when they walked in, was well, what does it look like when it's in, because the slide's so deep? Well, you can see there, you still have a good amount of space that you can get from front to back.
Yeah, it's great for road trips too. You don't have to pull out the whole thing. You know, when you do a rest stop or anything, make a sandwich, you can still get to the fridge and all that. So this is what travel mode is, and it looks great. You can still move around.
Is everything.
And then I'll let Darren touch on the warranty that he was talking about earlier.
Yeah, so 2-year right from the factory, 2-year on all Grand Design defective material, all our workmanship, 3-year structural and everything. We are the first motorhome to have a transferable warranty. So that was something that we just rolled out this year on even the towable side on that warranty. So that frame warranty and all those other warranties became transferable. But one of the things that's super unique, we talked about some of our vendor warranties that are really second to none with Sharkbite and with our Leno and all those things like that. But one of the things that's super unique is we want to really stay with our retail customers. So many times from a purchasing standpoint, when a customer buys a product, they kind of feel like detached from the OEM after the purchasing process, right? One of the things that we're going to do, we have an inside sales rep that just started with us this year too. So it's going to be, we haven't really milestone warranty or check-in warranty or whatever the name may be, but we want to stay up to date with that customer and really just kind of stay in their ear and just really just see how their ownership experience is going. So one thing that we'll do is, after 3 months of ownership, 90 days of ownership, they'll get a phone call from us, from an inside salesman, and just touching base and Mr. Jones, how's your Lineage going? Is there anything we can do? Some customers at this point noticed X, Y, and Z. Maybe you get slide tightened or whatever the case may be. Can I make you an appointment at your local dealership to get those things serviced, right? So then in 6 months, they'll get the same phone call and be like, hey, Mr. Jones, it's been 6 months. How's everything going? Yada, 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 this, that, or the other thing. Can we make an appointment to check on your roof membrane? Can we do a roof inspection for you just to check it out, make sure everything is up to snuff? 12 months goes by. It's been a year, same thing. 18 months goes by, and then 23 months goes by. Mr. Jones, just letting you know your 2-year warranty is expiring after this month, but we just want to see if we can make an appointment. Usually around this time, it's time to get this, or this serviced. But it's just nice, not only will the customer feel more engaged with us, but it'll alleviate some of the issues that a dealership has from a dealership level. So many times dealerships get a bad reputation for service, but really what they're having trouble with is they're not getting communication from the OEM either. And if we can kind of not cut out the middleman, but just help the middleman and really kind of do some of that work for them, I think it'll alleviate stuff off the dealership level and alleviate stuff off the retail level. And if the retail customer has a direct line of communication with the manufacturer, the ownership experience will only get better because of it. So we're just trying to think of ways to innovate and just try to better the process for that ownership experience throughout. So I think that milestone warranty is really going to be a huge, huge thing that nobody else is even coming close to doing right now. So that'll be a huge, huge feature for us.
Well, it's something, it's something that all of our customers, everyone that owns a motorhome owns a car. Like my wife, she had to go get an oil change a couple of weeks ago, and she gets a text or she gets a call or she gets an email from the car manufacturer, and customers are so used to how great the car manufacturers do on their service side. I mean, you get text, you get updates, and you get emails constantly like, hey, it's time to service your unit. We wanted to kind of bring that to the RV side. It's something that no one's doing. If we're checking in at 6 months, like you said, Mr. Jones, we see that you've got this part on order. We see that you have this part on order. We're looking at an extra week before we get that part from the supplier, and then we'll be able to get that out to your dealer. It shouldn't take too much longer. Call them at 12 months. Happy birthday. These are some things that we recommend doing at the 1 year mark, to keep your unit. And going back to the transferable warranty, I would say that you could go to RV Trader right now and type in 2024 used Mercedes Class C. You're going to find a lot of them. A lot of people buy a small unit as their first motorhome. It works out for most customers, but it's not going to work out for everybody. A lot of people want to go cross country, and sometimes they don't have the space in a 25-foot motorhome, and they may need a 35-foot motorhome. And what's unique about it is every other manufacturer out there, if that customer trades that in to your dealership, there's no warranty on that for that next customer. So you could have a unit that's only got 500 miles on it, that's only been used a couple times, that for whatever reason the customer had to trade it in for whatever reason. That next customer is still going to have 21 months with it, under factory warranty, which is something that's unheard of in this industry on the motorized side.
Most definitely. So real quick question for you. The 2+3 is basically what it is. Is that different than the towables then? Because isn't the towables 135?
Towables 135. So on the motorhome side, it's only 2+3.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a big deal. And I really appreciate the milestone warranty, because people forget about it. I just got my text yesterday about my Jeep.
Yeah.
Hey, your service is needed. And I'm looking at everything. I'm like, I'm good for now. Thank you. I don't want to spend more money, but I appreciate it because I forget about things. Life happens. Life is busy. So it's really cool that you guys are doing that.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. Cars do it a little bit better. So we're just trying to bring that to RVs a little bit. Yeah.
Much appreciated. I think it's great.
This is also something that I'm going to recommend, customers. We've got, can you see that yet? Has that popped up on your side?
I've not seen it.
There it is. We've got kind of a 360 tour. Again, you can kind of pinch it, roll it around. One of the things that we didn't have a slide on, all of your headrests, which you can see there, they look like a traditional headrest, that you actually can flip this down, and you've got a built-in safe built into all of your headrests. So that's something that, when you're looking at these seats right here, most customers won't realize that. But it's something that both of your seat headrests have built-in headrests. These are also fireproof. Mm-hmm. Heaven forbid anything happened, but at the same time, if it did, these would certainly make it. But it's something that most motorhomes that are in this 25 feet range, they don't use space underneath a dinette or anything for a safe. So we've got this. It's got a really strong magnet. It's actually really hard to open. It's very heavy compared to, I can only lift it with one hand. But again, be different. We want to do things that's not been seen before in this segment.
Is that storage on the back of the door?
That is storage.
Yeah, so that door.
Oh, very nice.
Door. Another cool thing about that door, while we're on that subject, is it actually has 2 strike points on it. So
up here and down here.
A big thing with motors, obviously, is keeping the noise down while you're running down the road, right? So with the 2 strike points, the dual latches on that door actually makes that door a heck of a lot quieter. I just took a unit on a trip last week, did about 1,600 miles on it, and the thing rode great, but it didn't really make much noise on the road at all, which I was pleasantly surprised by. So it's, we're trying to innovate in spaces. We're trying to get better day by day, and just some of these unique things that we're able to bring into this product, we're super proud of.
You should be. It looks BA. I won't say the whole word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No, I mean, realistically, like, we just did over an hour, and there's still probably 25 things I could talk about this product. I mean, it's super cool. Hopefully, these things start hitting lots. Well, they will start hitting lots here soon. We're starting to ship product now, so hopefully customers will start to see them at their local dealership. But yeah, we're ecstatic to get these things out to the public.
It looks like it's well lit too. I'm just looking around because it is a gray ceiling. So that was one of my first when you first showed the pictures. Like, I don't know about that, but then you see all the extra LED light strips, and you got LEDs up on top too. So it looks well lit, and it's blacked out right now. So I can see like you guys, blacked out all the windows. So I think it's going to be a wonderful product, and just the fact that they brought in the European modern style. Yeah, I like that as well. I mean, even the sink, that's a different looking sink. The faucet itself. I mean, that's
everything's square. Even the lights are square. The sink's square. The doorknob's square. I mean, we went to that whole square look. All our latches are square. They're European latches. I mean, the cabinet doors are EPP, European poplar plywood. So there's a ton of unique things on this. So like I said,
as far as time frame for customers to see it, as of right now, we've got about 100 units scheduled. We started production July 15th.
Yeah.
Even though that there's a lot of demand, I mean, as of right now, we've got roughly 100 scheduled. We've got over 10 retail names that have already put down deposits on units at dealerships that have a VIN number that know they're going to get them. So, even in a somewhat soft market, we're still seeing just off the website and off of a couple of videos on this already. There's been a lot of leads and a lot of calls that are going into dealerships waiting to see it. The first time that it's actually going to be at a show will be in a couple weeks. We're going to have one of the graphics package units and a full body painted unit at Hershey in 2 weeks. And then we're also that same week is the Dallas show down in Dallas. Darren will be at Hershey. I'll be at Dallas. And we'll have 2 units there as well. We'll have a graphics package and a full painted package. So, there's about 25, graphics starts at $197 MSRP, full paint, fully loaded kind of comes in at $217, $218. So it's a little bit different price point, but as you can see, going from ultra leather, going from your standard vinyl to ultra leather, going from steel wheels to aluminum wheels, going from graphics to full paint, that's kind of where the price point moves up. But one of the things that we're not going to do when our price point moves up is we're not going to change our story. We're not going to change our construction. Everything's going to be built the same. We just add more bells and whistles. So as the price goes up, you're getting more features. You're getting more benefits, from that aspect of it.
Super cool. I was going to ask the MSRP on that, but I'm actually going to be at Hershey apparently. So Darren, we'll have to link up, and then we can do a full video walkthrough of it there. That'd be super cool to do.
Heck cool. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I think like Brent said, one of the things too, like our MSRP is right in line with the rest of the market in terms of fully loaded. 217 fits right in with everything else. But one thing that we've noticed through this, a little bit of a downtime in the market is I don't think customers are shying away from price points as much as they are making a more educated decision than they ever have in the past. Customers are doing their homework more than they ever have in the past. They're making that educated decision, and they're not shying away from price points as much as they are shying away from brands that don't necessarily justify the price points. So with us, we're super confident that where we're showcasing them has the value of that price point. Like I said, it's not out of whack. It's completely right in line with everything else, but the value you get from everything that we're talking about and then some of these other features, it's more than enough and more than most of our competitors are able to offer. So we're super excited for everybody to get to see it. Like you said, yeah, I'd love to link up at Hershey and do a walk around on it.
Absolutely. Does that two things? That door looks like a damn safe.
Yeah, it's cool. It's awesome.
And then does the driver's seat turn too?
Yes. Yep.
That's super sweet. So you get a little extra seating and all that. So
this is also a proto. So if anyone does catch it, this is the ultra leather. Okay, here. If you order the ultra leather, these will also be covered in ultra leather. I know Darren touched on that earlier, but if anyone was listening really well when I was saying that you cannot get this light fabric in the standard fabric, production units will have that in this both of these seats covered. Your production units will also. These right now are Fosgate sound speakers. We actually have a built-in subwoofer underneath your
sound system.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. It's the best sound that I've heard inside and out. But these right now, in this proto, they kind of stick out. In the production units, it'll look like a Sonos speaker. They'll more or less be built into, and there'll be a square mesh magnetic strip that kind of goes over it. So.
Noticing from the top, I love Roscoe Fosgate, so that's gonna be great. On top, go to look at the ceiling there, towards the front. What are those slits right there? Is that from the AC? Is that vents?
We didn't even have it. Yeah.
I mean, I've got it right here. I wasn't sure how much time we had left, but these are our linear slot diffusers. So unlike the little circle pucks that most people are used to, we wanted to go more square rectangle. This is something that you're typically going to see in your floor. But then you can kind of, if I zoom in there, you can see those little triangles. So as air's coming out, it's actually pushing the air this way.
Very nice.
So we've got linear slot diffusers, 3 of those throughout the ceiling. We talked about the Cobra earlier. You can see right here where that air is going from here. It's going up and around, and you actually have that on both sides up top.
Yeah,
Super
the AC
cool.
performs excellent because of those slot diffusers, but because of that green air conditioner that we talked about, you have you actually return air on all four sides of this air conditioner. So by returning more air, you're able to push more air out. And then you do have a residential air filter on there. You also have a heat pump in there. So that AC, like Brent said, it's about 12 decibel levels lower. That's an easy one. 12 decibel levels lower than any other AC in the RV space. So not only is it super quiet, but it actually moves a ton of air. So that thing is awesome.
Very cool. Well, if you guys are done straight from the horse's mouth, you heard everything you need to know about the 2025 Lineage M series. That is awesome. So thank you very much for all that. But if you guys are done with your presentation, I got a couple questions that are the top search questions that I have found.
Yeah.
All right. So right now, floor plans, you have one, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And there's planned to be
probably three on the Mercedes.
awesome. So we already covered the MSRP, so that's awesome. We don't need to cover that. We did the whole thing. Then what is towing capacity on this thing?
Towing's going to be 3,500 pounds.
That's awesome. That's quite a bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's, so that was something. I mean, we do have more carrying capacity on this new 4,500, but the GCWR did not increase with the new 4,500. So by us putting more weight and giving you a little bit better ride, most of our competitors are I'd say 500 pounds to 1,000 pounds more. But I mean, 3,500 pounds is still very, very, very good for, something that's 25 feet.
Yeah. There's a lot of still vehicles with a self-lubricating transmission that you still can pull that are under that mark. But more importantly for us, we want to make sure that ride was right and that foundation was solid. So we put all that heft into that body of that coach. And I think customers will appreciate that a little bit more.
Absolutely. And no one's really going to tow another vehicle that far. I mean, you might put a boat back there, jet ski, maybe a motorcycle, but that's all going to be under that 3,500 pounds capacity. So that's a big plus. We covered the warranty. That warranty was really cool. The 2+3 on that. I think that's a big step. 2 years, that first year, sometimes people don't even use it. And then all of a sudden, so that second year is a big plus. So I really appreciate that. Guys did cover solar. You said there's going to be a bigger, it's 600 watt solar standard with 2 lithium 20. What was that?
130s, 2 130s.
2
130s. Okay, so that's a big plus. But there might be a power package, or there's going to be a power package coming as an option.
We're doing the testing now. It's not on any option sheet, but that's going to be something for down the road for sure.
Okay, so yeah, it's coming. So sweet. And then you said that was a Gen Delete, right? A Gen Delete
that would
option.
be a Gen Delete. Right now we've got an Onan 3.6 LP Gen in this one,
and the solar.
Yep.
So you'll be fine. Yeah,
people
will be fine out there. So what are comparables? I know you're talking about MSRP right in the same area, but like what are the comparable brands? So like thinking Jayco, thinking Winnebago, thinking.
I mean, when you look at I would say stat surveys. I mean, that's what we go off of when we look at stats and BTAs and what's selling. And right now, 12 of the top 15 Mercedes Class C units, 12 of the top 15 in the U.S. are all north of. They're all north. I'm trying to get out of that.
Yeah, sorry, I'm cutting you off.
Okay. They're all north of MSRP, north of $200,000. So earlier when Darren was talking about trying to hit a price point, when we look at I don't have it on yet.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
When I look at those top 15 brands, we wanted to kind of be in line with those at the top. So right off the bat, one of our Winnebago, they've got the View, the Navion. That's going to be coming in about the same price as our fully loaded units as far as MSRP goes. The Tiffin Wayfair, as far as price point goes, is up there. You mentioned Jayco, the Melbourne Prestige. Those are all in that same price point.
210 to 220, right in that ballpark.
I would say 2 to 3 years ago during COVID, when everybody wanted to get an RV, it was a race to the bottom. You had a ton of manufacturers coming out wanting to build cheap, and they were cheap. And a lot of customers bought the cheap units. Now we've seen that reverse. A lot of those cheaper, less expensive brands are not performing quite as well. And you look at the top 15 in the country right now, and 12 of the top 15 are in the higher luxury and price point. So, there's obviously some different chassis that you can get in a Class C, but for the ones that are buying the Mercedes, they're all buying luxury. I mean, when you go look at let's say a high-end Range Rover, very few people buy a cheap Range Rover, buy an entry-level Range Rover. I mean, you're going to get bells and whistles. You want to load it up. You want to have all the extra goodies on it. That's what we're seeing in this Mercedes buyer is they're wanting the full paint. They're wanting the ultra leather. They're wanting the aluminum wheels. So that's what we wanted to give them as a manufacturer.
Heck yeah. I mean, it's noticeable. And I like that the whole flip flop they were buying, race to the bottom.
Yeah.
I think that got a ton of people into the industry, which I really appreciate. But now they're like, I want to do this more.
Yeah.
So they're like, I'm gonna look at the top stuff. And they're selling everything and buying a motorhome and getting on the road for full time. So I really
for sure.
I think that's really cool. Other than that, I don't think I have any other questions because there's not going to be issues or recalls on this thing yet. There's none out. So it's a little early. So on that, guys, I think that's straight from the horse's mouth. Everything you need to know about the 2025 Grand Design Lineage, and it's going to be a sweet product. I'm super excited to see it. And Brent and Darren, thank you so much for joining. And everybody, stay tuned for more from the RV Voice and give us a follow.
Thanks, James.